Whitaker Weekly is a 3-episode anime discussion podcast where two brothers discuss a show of their choice. The show can be anything from a current season flop to a decades-old classic. What are they going to talk about next? Who knows? They sure don't. Welcome to Whitaker Weekly. My name is Andrew.
My name is Lee.
And let's get right into it. Let's start off with the news. This week, some stuff that piqued our interest. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before.
Probably.
I'm a Konosuba fan. You're a Konosuba fan. Everyone I know loves that show. It's absolutely hysterical.
I need to watch more of it. I haven't had the chance to get in.
You haven't seen season 2 yet?
No. I haven't even finished season 1 yet.
Well, then I know what we're going to be doing for anime nights once we wrap up on the couple of shows that we're almost done with.
Yeah, we're pretty close to done with a few things.
Yeah,
yes, okay,
yeah.
fine.
Anyways, they are making a Konosuba film. Now, they, I don't know what arc it's going to be. I'm not really familiar with the arcs as they go in the, like in the light novels, though I am planning on picking those up and reading them for myself when I get the chance. But they're making a Konosuba movie. For those of you who don't know what Konosuba is, what are you doing? I mean, seriously, look up this. It's an absolutely hysterical isekai show, where rather than being like the typical, the main character goes from one world to another and they use their abilities to become like the best thing ever in that world. They're just like a god among men or women. The main characters
that's the trope for most Konosuba. For most
isekai
yes.
Anime.
But
Konosuba, he's a loser in our world, and he's a loser in the other world as well. Like, his very first thing is just struggling to, do day labor just to get food and, clothing and stuff like that. It's gold. I love it. And he surrounds himself with party members who turn out to be just as terrible as he is. And they're just a bunch of adorable dorks and losers. But yeah, they're making a movie.
I guess all my stats were maxed out from the very beginning. Is that why she's not getting any smarter?
Wait. Your intelligence stat hasn't gone up at all since we first began. Well, it's obvious. My stats were maxed out at the beginning. Is that why she doesn't get any smarter no matter how much she levels up? Cosmo, what's with that look? Why are you giving me that look of disappointment? Cosmo, what's wrong? It's comic gold. It is so good. But they're making a movie on it, based on it. I don't know if it's going to be the season 3 that's been talked about. I'm pretty sure there are plans for season 3 as well. I mean, it's doing extremely well. So they'd be crazy not to keep it going.
Right.
But yeah, we do know that the film has been confirmed. They're making a movie.
Right.
And next up in news, we have some Fathom Events news.
Yes. Now, we've been following the Fathom Events. Every year that they just
pretty much every year for the past several years.
Every year for the past several years, Fathom Events has gone through the Studio Ghibli archives and just once a month.
It's their yearly Ghibli Fest.
It's their yearly Ghibli Fest.
Mm-hmm. And it's not them. It's some company called G Kids, and they go through Fathom Events to do it.
Okay, but next month of July, they'll be airing Mononoke Hime, or Princess Mononoke,
which is the first anime film I ever purchased.
Wow. Different showings will be either subbed or dubbed, but it'll be July 22nd, 23rd, and 25th.
And you can go to fathomevents.com and look up the information there.
And we'll link you to it on our site.
I'm sorry, I just got a text that made me super happy. A dear friend of mine, somebody who is a beta reader of my novels, great friend, she just barely sent me a text saying, I started watching The Devil's a Part-Timer. I will talk to her about it once we're done recording because, as our listeners know, I adore The Devil is a Part-Timer. I mean, you saw a post on Facebook where it was asking who your favorite romantic couple is.
Yes,
or your favorite romance story is.
Yes.
And you sent the pic, and you posted Edward and Winry.
First, I posted the text Edward and Winry. And then I posted a GIF from Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun, where Nozaki's holding up his umbrella in such a way that it just pours onto Sakura's head, and the look on her face. I think that poor girl.
Yep.
That poor
Whereas,
girl.
I don't really do Facebook. I mean, I have a writer's page, and that's about it, but I don't really have friends or anything like that on Facebook. So I didn't post on it, but I sent you a GIF.
And I posted on your behalf.
Oh, good. And it is Mao from The Devil's Part-Timer holding Emmy. I forget exactly the reason. He caught her or something.
Yeah, he has her princess style in his
arms, and she just punches him right in the nose, and blood just splurts out. She then knees him in the face as he drops her on the ground, and I'm like, that's my favorite couple right there. I adore The Devil is a Part-Timer. Anyways, so after the Fathom Events, we now have a new game coming out, or like an English translation of a game coming out.
Yes. Bungo Stray Dogs game app gets an English release in the West, according to Anime News Network.
Bungo Stray Dogs is a very, very interesting show.
It really is.
The season, it's hard to describe because it's got real good scenes of comedy in it, but at the same time it's rooted very, very well in dramatic and serious elements.
Yeah, it feels like a cross between Empire Strikes Back and a film noir sort of thing, where you have the punctuations of humor that keep the plot going, so it's not so depressing all the way through.
Yeah.
But there are such serious, deeply consequential moments throughout that's why I compare it to Empire Strikes Back, is because they have the most quotable funny lines in Star Wars, but it's also one of the darkest storylines. So that's how that has going for it. And I just discovered earlier this day that there is an Attack on Titan prequel manga series called Attack on Titan Before the Fall. And apparently it takes place 70 years before the events of the first manga. I read a little bit into the synopsis.
Okay.
And it's about the guy who founded the Scouting Corps.
The Survey Corps?
The Survey Corps.
Okay.
And apparently they're reaching the final arc in the manga. They're gonna.
I saw that posting today as well.
Yeah, they're gonna publish the last one in August.
Okay, cool. And something that I've been watching this week, and our patrons who get the videos, they'll get or even our listeners probably may already be aware of this, but this week it is Summer Games Done Quick, and all week long there's a marathon of speedrunners playing through games as quickly as possible, trying to achieve certain goals. And sometimes they're going for a 100% goal. Sometimes they're just going for any percent. Sometimes they're doing a no glitch run, just going through the game as quickly as possible. But they are doing it to raise money for a charity known as Doctors Without Borders.
Oh, I've heard of them.
And they do it twice a year. During winter, it's called Awesome Games Done Quick, and during summer, it's just called Summer Games Done Quick. It's all on Twitch, the Games Done Quick channel, and they just do game after game after game after game, and it's really, really kind of fascinating. Something I like to have on the background while I'm working on other things.
Sure.
I have donated in the past. Unfortunately, I'm not really in a position where I can donate this year, but I still want to spread the word for this. So anybody who is not watching it, that listens to our podcast, I highly recommend it. You can still also watch their videos because they post each individual speed run on YouTube after it's been done. So on Twitch, it's just a constant stream, but tomorrow they'll have today's speed runs uploaded to YouTube.
Nice.
So yeah, I highly recommend checking out Games Done Quick if you haven't done that yet.
All right. Do you have any other news to share with us?
No, other than apparently Pokemon Quest is now available to install. I just got a notification for it. So
I've come to it's come to my attention that Pokemon Go now has friends, and so people can share a 12-digit code that is their ID or something, and you can become friends with them on Pokemon Go, and then you can you level up by sharing gifts or something.
I haven't played Pokemon Go in over a year.
Neither have I, until I noticed some friends of mine were sharing this information, and so I thought I'd open it up again and see if I could do it. And when I opened it up, it said the limit was for players level 30 or above.
I'm level 12, so
yeah, I'm level. I just got level 11 today. But in the time between the first time that I noticed it and today, they've lowered the cap. so level 10 players can do it too.
Okay.
I don't know what I don't know if there is a cap anymore. I don't know if it's all the way to 0 or if 10 was the cap, but I could do it. I became somebody's friend today.
Cool.
And
I'll have to check to see if I've got any friends that I can add.
And there was
that might make me want to play again.
And there was something else. I only got to see the first few minutes of it, but apparently there's just a list of anime that are getting live action adaptations this year. And I didn't see the complete list, but I know that Bleach and Mob Psycho 100 are both getting
I think Mob
live
Psycho
action.
100 already has their live action. I could be wrong about
I saw trailers, so that obviously is either they've been made, but I don't know if they've been released yet.
See, that's always something that's so hard for me. Certain shows I think work really, really well in live action aspects. Mob Psycho 100 is not one of those shows, simply because part of the joy that I get out of watching Mob Psycho 100 is just this crazy art style that they've just embraced for the show.
Yes.
You can't recreate that in real life.
No.
So that charm that they have for the anime is already lost in the live action one.
Right.
So I've got no interest in watching it already. And Bleach, I loved Bleach for the first several arcs, and then it just ran into the same, shonen manga problem, power creep, where everything just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger with no established limit.
That's what happens when a brilliant young creator ends up losing creative control to studios. Where the studio says, okay, I know you planned 5 seasons for this, but we're going to need to turn it into 30, so stretch it out.
Yeah, I can see that. But at the same time... anyways, we're not going to get into that discussion right now. But yeah, simply because I lost all my passion for Bleach, I'm not really interested in a live action series. I feel like it's too little too late, for my opinion. But, some people might enjoy it.
Sure.
Anyways, let's wrap up with the news and get into 3 episodes in.
All right, so this is what you're here to listen to.
We hope.
All right, and this week it was my pick, and I picked Oratoria. Oratoria? Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon on the side?
Yeah, how about you give us the synopsis as well? We watched this on Amazon Prime Video, by the way.
Yes, we did. So, Sword Princess Ais Wallenstein and the Loki Familia take to dungeons below Orario once more. This time, there may be more lurking in the shadows than mere monsters.
See, that kind of throws it off for me, because let's just establish real fast. This is not a continuation. This is not a sequel series. This is, it says in the title, on the side.
Yeah.
Meaning that this is a side series taking place...
It's a parallel series.
A parallel series in parallel to the original Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in the Dungeon?
Yes.
Also known as Don Machi, which we will be referring to it from here on out because it's much, much easier to say.
It is so much fewer syllables.
For those of you who don't know what that is, Don Machi, the town that they are in, Orario, it is known as the Dungeon Village. Because adventurers from all over the world gather here to go into this tower that leads down to these dungeons. So Don is short for dungeon, donjon in Japanese, and then Machi is village. So they just shortened it to Don Machi, so Dungeon Village is what people refer the show to.
And we were discussing earlier about how it's entirely likely that for the English version, they just called it Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon as a way of making it more interesting for American and Western audiences to be intrigued by the title than Dungeon Town.
Oh, no. That is the official name. Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in the Dungeon, even in Japan?
Okay.
The kanji and stuff, and the katakana kanji, the title, that's what the title is.
Oh.
It's just called Danmachi
because it's just
short. Okay. Yeah, the Japanese, they really like shortening words, making things easier to say.
That much is true.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, so that is the official name. It's just Danmachi. That's what they refer to it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I believe Danmachi is actually like a secondary official title for it because I've seen it in the work. Like, we were talking about this before, Crunchyroll, they've released their first game. And it's a game based off of this series, and it's called Danmachi in the title. I don't know the full name of the game, but yeah, so Danmachi is official. Anyways, so yeah, this is a parallel series to the original. It's not, like when they say here, once more, or this time, I'm just like, that feels misleading to me.
There may be more, well, so... we've only seen the first 3 episodes, and so there may be more to it going in deeper into the show. But yes, if you've already... You really should go and watch the original Danmachi before watching this, because this is a side story that cross-references things that you're expected to already know. The main characters of the original show make brief cameos and walk through crowds, and it's kind of a... maybe you watch one episode of one, then one episode of the other, and balance it back and forth. I didn't actually try to time it out to see if that's how it would play out. That if you watch one episode then the other, and you kind of see how they're going.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get right into it. So the show starts off with the Loki Familia, and in this world, let's go ahead and probably explain this. The gods have come down from the heavens to live their lives among the humans, among mortals. There's more races than just humans. There's dwarves, there's elves, other things as well.
Right.
Dog people. I didn't catch the name, but they're one of the characters in the show is a dog person.
Yes.
A wolf man or whatever. Who's a jerk, but and these gods, they pretty much live for entertainment, and a lot of them have made these clans so these clans can go explore and find new things and pretty much entertain the god.
Yes.
And the main characters in this side series, they are part of Loki's clan or familia. Yes. And Loki is a female god who's just as mischievous as you would assume someone with the name Loki would be.
Right.
But yeah, so now that we've established that, we can the Loki Familia, they are down in level 50 of this dungeon, which it feels like this is as far as most people have made it. Because they're the most powerful clan around. They established the most powerful familia around. And as they are at their campsite at the entrance to the pathway going to level 51, they get attacked by a group of monsters they've never seen before.
Yeah. A horde of them running up at them. And
they look like massive caterpies from Pokemon.
They do. They look like caterpies the size of elephants, where if each segment was the size of an elephant.
And as they're attacking, and these creatures start attacking, and the story begins to focus on Lefia.
Yes.
Who is an elven mage.
Yes.
And she tries to cast a spell to defeat these things, but she's unable to focus because she sees so much pain and things going on around her. Like, they try to attack these creatures, and every time a sword slashes through one of them, it turns out they're like the xenomorphs from Alien, and they're just covered in acid on the inside that they can also use as a projectile weapon.
Yep.
So somebody loses a really powerful weapon after killing one of these things because the acid just destroys her weapon. But yeah, so she's trying to cast this spell, but she's unable to focus. And then we meet Ais, Sword Princess, who is a reoccurring character from the original series.
Right.
And she's this incredibly powerful level 5. The people who play RPGs and stuff, level 5 really isn't all that powerful. I mean, compared to level 1, that's even in Dungeons and Dragons, compared to level 1, level 5 is worlds more powerful than level 1. But
level 5 means you might survive the fight.
Huh?
Level 5 means you might survive the fight.
Yeah.
Level 1 does not mean that.
No, it does not. But we see we get introduced to a big cast of characters again right at the beginning. We meet Ais, we meet the Sword Princess, Lafia, the Elf Mage, Tiona, and Tione, twin sister. I don't know if they're twins, but they're sisters.
Yes, they're
both
sisters.
of them seem to be brawlers of some sort.
Amazons of a type.
Yeah, they're both Amazons. We meet Finn, who's in charge of this group. He's kind of a short blonde guy. He's a spellcaster. Yeah. We meet Gareth, who I don't know if he's a dwarf.
He looks like a large dwarf, or at least a barbarian.
He's short, stocky, muscular type. And we meet Riviera, who's an elf with green hair, and then we meet Bette, who's the cat man, or the dog man.
The dog man, yeah. The jerk.
He's the jerk. These, what am I trying to say here? The monsters overrun the camp, and they're all asking Lefia to cast her spell and destroy all these monsters at the same time, because using weapons is just going to destroy the weapon and hurt the person who's attacking them.
Right.
But she's unable to. And Tione, she's not a ditz. She comes across as kind of like a sweet girl. Mm-hmm. She comes across as a sweet girl. And she gets picked up by multiple things, like these tongues come out from like 5 different things, and they start like attacking her and like pulling her apart and stuff like that. Yeah. And everybody's crying out for help. And this sweet girl, and this is one of the things that I enjoyed about the first 3 episodes, shows that she's not as sweet as she appears. Mm-hmm. Because she's just like, screw this. And switches from being super sweet and nice and, trying to be like the person who, the cheerful, let's work together type attitude. She then starts ripping these things apart with her bare hands. Now, these are things that we established melted, magically imbued weapons with their acid, and she is punching them to death and reaching in and crushing their innards with her bare hands.
Yes, and she's not doing it, she's not unscathed in the process.
No, she's not. I mean, she gets hurt, but she doesn't let it bother her.
Yeah, she became unhappy and dealt with it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so yes, they end up fighting these creatures, and they try to leave it to Lefia, mm-hmm. but she fails them.
Yeah, she fails them. She's unable to cast the spell. And this is something we see a lot in the first 3 episodes. She's trying to cast a spell, trying to do something, but she's unable to focus. Her own worries and her own fears keep overtaking her ability to cast magic. So, yeah. Anyways.
Okay, so that battle doesn't go well, but they eventually...
Well, what they decide to do is, because this attack, they do eventually kill all the creatures. Ice activates her magical abilities, and she's able to control wind magic, which makes her fast,
agile. She uses it mostly for acrobatic combat.
Mm-hmm. And she also enchants her sword with it, so her sword doesn't get damaged by these creatures' acids.
Right.
But she's so strong that she ends up dulling the blade a bit and gets chewed up by a blacksmith later on. Even though her sword is an indestructible weapon. It's unbreakable.
It's unbreakable, but
mm-hmm. It can be dulled.
It can dull.
But she kills all the creatures, and they end up leaving because their campsite is destroyed. And they lost a huge amount of supplies, so they have to turn around.
Yep.
And so they turn around, and they get to 417 or something like that. And then
17.
You get to 417, and they get ambushed by a group of minotaurs. And then they're just like, oh, you poor monsters. And then Tiona and Tione, who are both still frustrated from those giant caterpillars, these minotaurs are just standing, they're 3 times their size, and they just scream and they're roaring and yelling and stuff. And Tiona just kind of has a smile on her face, walks up to one and casually kicks its head, breaking its neck, and it just disintegrates into nothing. And the other minotaurs are just and there's there are a group of 6 adventurers, and there's at least 20 minotaurs surrounding them.
I'd say up to 50. Between 20
more
and 50,
than that.
Yeah.
There's more than 20. Yeah. But and then Tione, the sweet one, jumps on the back of another Minotaur, grabs it by its horns, and rips its head off.
Yes.
And then the other Minotaur just see this happen and run away from these adventurers, and they're just like, oh man, oh wait, crap, they're going to the levels that have lower level adventurers on it, we have to kill them. And so they all rush off after them, and this is where we first see the show's interlinking with the original series.
Yes, because, now what was the jerk's name?
Bete?
Yeah, so Bete and Ice...
Or Beat, or something like that.
Bet and Ice end up getting in the lead as they're trying to annihilate all of these Minotaurs. And they get to level 1, where they can't find the last one. Mm-hmm. And they end up having to split up. And then they hear a scream.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the first crossover, which is Ice's point of view when she rescues Belle, the hero from the original series.
Mm-hmm.
Who, in the original series, he ends up having this high-level Minotaur in the low-level areas going, why is he here? And he loses his weapon, and things go from bad to worse, and he's cornered, and he thinks he's going to die. But this time we see it from her point of view, where she's just about to rescue this guy, and so she ends up just decimating this Minotaur.
Slicing him to ribbons. And it just sprays blood all over Belle. And he's... to the point that Bet actually does describe him as a tomato. Several times later, he's so covered with blood, and how does Belle react? He is so smitten and has no idea what to say that he runs away screaming. Well, he's embarrassed.
Yes, he is.
From the first series, we learn early on that he's got a crush on this woman. Mm. Like he thinks the world of her. And he's going to be an adventurer kind of in hopes of meeting her, and he
idolizes her. He idolizes that's his goal. Because she is the best of the best.
Yeah, he idolizes her. He wants, to be with her. And his first time meeting her, she saves his life, and he's super embarrassed by it. And so he just runs away screaming because he doesn't know what else to do.
Which leaves her abjectly dejected and disappointed. It's like, what did I do?
Yeah. She just kind of has this blush on her face, like, because we learn that she's not very good at interacting with people.
No.
She's very, very strong, but like when it comes to interacting with people, she's not that great at it. So that's the end of the first episode.
It is.
And then we go to the next episode, and the next episode is it's kind of a very low-key episode.
Yes.
Low-key.
Low-key.
Where they go back home and they meet Loki. Or
yes.
the viewer meets Loki.
The viewer meets Loki.
And there's a running gag with Loki.
Loki seems to enjoy invading the personal space of the female party members, of which there are many.
Uh-huh.
And there's a running gag where Loki will make a flying leap.
Loki will scream out, welcome home, or hello, or something, and...
make a flying leap to tackle and hug somebody. And first target is Ice, who will sidestep one direction, and then...
it's Tiona,
who sidesteps the other.
And then Tione goes another direction.
And Leafa, who doesn't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's new.
Lefia, who she's level 3. I think she's high level 3.
She went through a lot of education, but she's still new in terms of being part of the crew.
Well, part of the crew, yeah, part of the adventuring crew. Yeah, and that happens 3 times in this episode, where Loki screams out in joy of seeing these people and makes a leaping attack. And Ein steps aside, Tiona steps aside, then Tione steps aside, and she tackles Lefia and starts, invading Lefia's personal space.
Yes.
Yeah. In that episode, they kind of it's just kind of a relaxing episode where they turn in their equipment that was damaged or ruined.
Yeah.
They go shopping. Not a lot really happens then in that episode.
One of my favorite scenes in that episode is pretty early on, about 6 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where Loki is performing the ritual that we've seen Hestia do on Belle in the original series, where they the goddesses do something, and the heroes' stats appear on their back.
It's like a tattoo on their back,
and then they can transfer it to a parchment, and so they can see their own personal stats on a character sheet. So that's kind of funny.
Well,
and so she does this, and so Loki does this for Ais. But so Ais is there, topless with her back turned to Loki, because that's what they need to do to see the stats, is to have a bare back, and Loki, having us already witness her invade another girl's personal space, starts threatening. I've been a little drunk. My hand might slip and do something. Suddenly, there is a knife in the bed. So they're both. So Ais is sitting on an edge of the bed, and Loki's sitting cross-legged on the bed. And suddenly there is a large dagger embedded in the space between them. And Loki says, "Oh, all sobered up now."
Oh well, yeah, I'm sober. I'm suddenly sober. And that's something that I think that's kind of unique to this series. Where these people that interact with their gods on a day-to-day basis, you know, where like you see like in so many fantasy worlds, even in anime, like where people pray to the god, or like where they commune with their god or goddess, it's always done with respect, or you know, pure disdain if it's somebody who hates the gods for some reason. But they have very, very casual, almost ridiculous relationships with their deities, their patron deities, who they know are gods. And yet, like here, Loki's like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna cope a feel. There's nothing you can do about it. Then all of a sudden, boom, knife, don't touch me, you know?
Yeah.
Or, later on, like, well, and like the 3 times Loki tries to grope, you know, a woman. They all are just like, whatever, and they just go away, you know? They've got this show has a very, very unique perspective on people interacting with their gods. Yeah. So
I think I don't think that their gods are worshipped and respected the way that a religion would. They're just accepted as these higher beings that will live forever, but we're just kind of meh.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what happens when, like, you know, well, and this is coming from Loki, but Loki treats them very casually as well. So, I guess it's just kind of the relationship that builds from something like that. Anyways, later on in that same episode, they go shopping. And you wrote something about that episode where they go shopping, where like they take Ais out as a way to, like, she's depressed about something. She's depressed about her interactions with Belle. And if I recall correctly, in this same episode, they have another interaction with Belle, and she doesn't even realize he's there.
Yes, there's a scene in a tavern where Bet keeps on
saying, "Isn't it time for you to share that story about that kid you saved, and he covered him in blood, and he ran away screaming. He looked like a tomato. Ah ha ha ha. You know. Well, Belle is in the bar as well,
perpetually abusing him, and Belle just runs out of the bar, and she realizes she didn't even see him there. She only recognized that he was even there in the room after he had bolted, and she's just felt bad about that as well. It's like there's 2 instances where she's caused a pain to a person that she never intended to. And so she's all the same person.
It's the same person. So they try to cheer her up. Lefia, Tiona, and Tione, they take her shopping and stuff.
They do take her shopping. And there's a bunch of, and so there's a montage scene where they end up trying on all these different costumes. And one of the costumes that it made me bust up laughing. One of the second to last costume they put her in is the exact costume that Hestia, Belle's goddess, wears.
And for those of you who know, this show was ridiculed for her costume because her costume is ridiculous.
Yes.
And they even mention how ridiculous that outfit is when Ais is wearing it for just that one scene. So, yeah. Look up Hestia for Don Machi if you haven't seen it. Her outfit is ridiculous.
It really is.
She's a goddess to be able to keep that attached. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
So episode 2 is kind of a more laid back episode. Episode 3, it starts off with a bit more shopping with Leffia trying to spend more time with Ais and, doing nice things for Ais to try to cheer her up.
And apparently there's a, I think it starts off with a convention of the gods, so that, like, they're a giant banquet hall, and...
Yeah, it starts off with, the last episode ends with, there being a carriage, and Loki dressed up for an evening, she once again goes and, does the gag where she tries to, tackle and feel a cop a feel from one of the girls, and poor Leffia gets stuck with her again. So, 3 times in the same episode.
Yeah.
But they, what was that?
That was nothing.
Oh,
keep going.
Okay. Sorry, it sounded like a cat or something. Anyways, she, so the next episode has Loki at a banquet with other gods and goddesses. Did she make Ais go with her that night?
It was shortly after Hestia brought up the courage to ask Ais out on a date. That
oh no, that hasn't happened yet. And you're not Hestia.
No, I'm sorry. No, Leffia.
Yeah, Leffia.
Leffia asks Ais out to go to this event. This Monsterphilia.
The banquet happens first,
right?
And that's where they're talking about Monsterphilia. That's where the god who's making it all happen is talking about it,
right?
And
which
then,
is just this whole. They bring monsters up. The plan is to bring monsters up to a coliseum and have people fight them in the ring.
Fight them, do other things with them. It's just like it's a big festival with food and vendors and games, dances, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We then go to Ais and Leffia underneath in the dungeon again. They don't really say what they're doing. Ais is just killing monsters, and Leffia's there to be her support, her backup, to pick up, whenever they kill a monster, a crystal's left behind, and I think they turn that in for money. Yeah, so that's kind of like a source of income for them. It's been a while since I've seen the original series. They never really explain what they do with them in the new series.
Right. It just, when you kill a monster, it disappears in a puff of ash and smoke, and a crystal is left behind.
So they're gathering those things, and when they get back, they get in trouble because they're supposed to be at home resting. They just had a long expedition down to level 50, and they're you need to be resting. But while they're underneath the town, underneath the town in the dungeon, there we go. Leffia asks Ais to spend the day with her at this festival, and Ais says sure. And so Leffia gets super happy about it, being able to spend the day with Ais.
Yep.
And then as soon as they get back to us, yeah, you guys are gonna have to be punished. You went out and you shouldn't have. You dragged Leffia with you. And Loki comes in and says, "Oh, hey, Ais, how about you go with me to the festival tomorrow?" Wait, I just made plans to go. Well, too bad you're going with me now.
And I'm not taking no for an answer.
And she's just okay. And then that night, we go to poor Leffia, who is in a bunk bed. She's on the bottom bunk of this bunk bed, and she's just covered. She's like a lump underneath her sheets, and she's just crying, saying, "Oh, I had such hopes for tomorrow. Tomorrow was going to be such a great day, and it all got stolen away from me. It's so terrible." And then whoever's on the top bunk just leans over and says, "Leffia, I can't sleep with all your crying. Can you please stop crying?" And then there's a pause, and Leffia just says, "In a little bit."
She's not quite done crying.
She's not quite done crying yet. That's the part that made me laugh.
Yeah. Now, what had happened in the scene?
It was the pregnant pause.
What had happened just before that, before she was caught crying, is that there was an extended scene of Leffia's imagination, and anytime it cuts to her imagination, it's just this flowery frame.
Leffia likes Ais in a way that Ais doesn't like Leffia.
Yeah, she has romantic interests. And she wants to have these romantic situations with her, and she was imagining going out with her, and they'd share they'd share a bit of food, and that would be what the Japanese call an indirect kiss.
Yeah.
Which is the fact that was denied her was why she started crying.
Yeah.
And then later on in that episode, Loki forces the situation, and Hines is not impressed in the slightest.
No.
It's like, do you want a bite of mine? No. Do you please want a bite of it? No.
No. Well, can I get a bite of yours? Sure. Yeah. But anyways, they're going through the town during the day of the festival the next day.
Yeah.
And Tiona, Tione, and Leafia are together. And one of the reasons that...
now, aren't they sitting in the Coliseum at this time?
They're sitting in the Coliseum watching something. Before, but
or is this before that?
This is before that.
Okay.
So, because they notice something's going wrong when they're in the Coliseum, but before they notice something's going wrong, we cut to Ainz and Loki, and she's gone to meet
another
Freya.
Goddess. Freya.
She's gone to meet the goddess Freya, and Freya is talking about doing something, but before she can reveal what it is, she gets caught away by something, and she wants Loki's help with it.
Yeah, she wants Loki's help with it. And apparently she has designs for Bell.
Yeah,
when she sees him in a crowd, she has to leave their meeting early.
Yep, she's caught. You barely see Bell in the crowd, and as soon as that happens, that's when Freya says, something's come up, I have to go. Mm-hmm. And so she goes, and for those of us who've seen the original series, this is really the point where Bell starts to kind of come into his own. Mm-hmm. Because he saves people's lives by fighting some very, very powerful, dangerous monsters that get loose. Well, it's revealed that Freya is the one who loosed them.
Yes.
So what happens is that Loki and Ainz are walking through the streets, and as they're walking through the streets, they notice that monsters have gotten out. Mm-hmm. And then Leafia, Tiona, and Tione notice the officials above them discussing something rather frantically, and they realize something's going on, so they decide to go find Loki and see what's going on. So they go out, they see Loki, and they're like, what's going on? And they're like, monsters are loose.
Yeah, she's casually eating a squid on a stick while explaining that monsters are loose in the city where there's not even level 1 people. Mm-hmm. That could easily be killed by these things. Mm-hmm. It's like, aren't you taking this a little too casually?
No, because I put her on the job, and she points up, and you see up on one of the towers, Ainz is up there examining the city, seeing where the monsters are.
Ice, yeah.
Ice. I don't know. I said Ainz. Probably because I'm excited for Overlord 3 to start in a couple weeks. But anyways.
That is exactly the reason.
Yeah. Anyways, Ice then uses her wind magic to go and hunt down these monsters.
And that's one of the most beautifully animated parts of this show, is watching her use her wind magic to do her acrobatic combat scenes.
And she's just going through street through square, just butchering these monsters as if they're nothing to her, and which they are to her. So
it reminds me of like a low budget version of watching the like Attack on Titan when they were flying through the air to the city. Like a lot of expense went into doing what they did for for Attack on Titan. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that this was this wasn't bad. This was really, really good for what it was. Mm-hmm. And it looked like it was kind of an homage to that a touch, but not.
Maybe.
I mean, they had the red roofed buildings, and
that's just the design of the city.
It is the design of the city, but there she is, her flying in, slaying a monster with a sword, and then flying away to take care of another one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so it had a similar flavor to it. Okay, it is what it seemed like to me.
I didn't get the same vibe as you, but I thought it was still a pretty neat scene to watch.
Yeah. But it wasn't as enhanced by CG as Attack on Titan.
Well, no, but Attack on Titan, it worked really, really well. Yeah, Attack on Titan.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It wasn't as enhanced by CG as Attack on Titan was with these shots.
Yeah, there's a couple good videos out there about good versus bad CG in anime.
That has been discussed at length.
Mm-hmm, and Attack on Titan, the use of CG in Attack on Titan works really, really well.
Basically, it boils down to if you don't notice the CG, it's good CG.
Well, yeah, but also it also boils down to a lot of times, like if you're using CG characters and stuff like that, and it's very static shots, it doesn't work very well.
Right.
Whereas one of the strengths of CG is being able to do shots and camera pans that you can't do easily hand drawn. You can do them, but it takes forever and is super expensive. But it's very, very easy to make a fluid shot like that, like with them swinging through the streets in Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
And because it's moving so quickly, you don't much have time to notice that it's CG, so it works very, very well.
Do you know when the first uses of a 3D model in animation was?
I heard about it, but I forget.
It's Cruella de Vil's car. They built a physical model of Cruella de Vil's car for 101 Dalmatians, traced black lines on the major areas of it, but it was all in white. And then they would film it, moving it up like up the slope. They'd have a hill covered in salt or something, and they would move it up. And so what they did is they'd film this thing, and then they would rotoscope trace over it and shade it in with animation. But the car itself was a 3D model, and that's how they did it.
Okay, cool.
So techniques that enhance are always welcome.
Yeah. But anyways, getting back to it, the group of girls go after Ice, and they're just like, well, there's not gonna be much for us to do today because she's slaughtering the monsters before they even get a chance to get to the street where the monsters were at, and then she's gone. But they get to a street, and then it looks like a serpent-like monster appears out of the ground.
It's green scaled thing that looks like a tentacle or a snake or something.
To me, it was pretty obvious that it was a plant, just because it's got a petal thing for the head. I'm like, oh, it's a plant. Okay,
could have been the tail of something, but yeah, it was a plant.
Yeah, so the two girls who we already know their brute strength, Tiona and Tione, they start punching this thing, and their arms get hurt from punching it, so it's got very hard scales.
Yes.
And then Leafia tries to cast a spell, but
and then suddenly something pops out of the ground and
slams in
her side hard enough to leave bruising and bleeding on the place of impact, and she coughs up blood.
And she gets tossed onto a watermelon stand, which I thought was a clever use of hiding actual gore, because watermelon red juice just goes everywhere, but it's not really gore; it's watermelon stuff. So,
and then she coughs up blood.
Anyways. But she's about to get killed when Ainz comes back and saves her. But Ain's sword breaks fighting this thing because of how strong it is. And Ainz is worried about getting chewed out by the blacksmith again, because the blacksmith who's repairing her weapons said, "This is a loner. Don't use your full strength because it's probably going to destroy the weapon." And it destroyed the weapon.
It did.
But as they're fighting this, Leafia is talking to herself, saying that she can't remain the same that she is. She can't keep She can't keep watching them from behind. She can't keep, depending on them to save her. Because I forget what her name is, but she gets chatted with. I got the name written down here. Riviera. Riviera is an elf mage as well with green hair, and they kind of treat her as the mom of the group.
Team mom, team mom, team. Stop that chanting, or no ice cream, or no slushies after practice. Aww.
But anyways,
says the team mom.
Jeez, 50% off. 50% off. Comic gold. Anyways, and she's reminded that her friends, they're putting themselves on the line just as much as she is.
It's true.
And that she needs to put her trust in her comrades, and so she does that and lets her comrades protect her while she casts this spell. And it's like at the very beginning, episode 1, it shows her name Leafia, and then she's called like the 1,000th elf.
Yeah.
It never really explains what that is until now. The reason that she was accepted into the Loki Familia is because she has a unique ability amongst all spellcasters where she can recreate any spell, which is why she's called Elf 1000.
Yes.
And then she casts this spell that just covers the entire square in ice and completely shatters this creature.
Yeah. So the progress of the fight with the creature was that it was a one-mouthed plant, and then a tentacle
ice
came
kills
out.
One.
And then ice kills one, and then 3 more heads pop up.
Yep, 3 more heads pop up.
And so Ice, Tiona, and Tione are each fighting one of the heads, trying to keep it distracted.
I really wish they'd named them something other than Tiona and Tione. That's so annoying. Anyways.
The flat one and the not flat one.
Yeah. And they discuss that and things that we decided to not talk about. Anyways, but Levia finally casts a spell at the climax of episode 3. And it's a pretty cool spell that she casts.
It is. It's pretty epic.
And then Loki comes in, saving with a child in hand, saying that she's going to be taking this child to her parents. She sends Ais off to clean up the monsters.
She sends the sisters off to clean up the sewers.
To make sure there's nothing down there. And then she says, Lefia, make sure the guild has a chance to heal you. You need to take care of yourself. And then one of the presents that Ais got from Lefia, because Lefia was giving her things to try to make her feel better, was kind of this healing potion.
Yeah.
Like 100, I forget what the money is in that world, but it's a cheap healing potion. Mm-hmm. And so she drinks it, and then she gives it to Lefia and says, drink the rest of this.
Yeah.
And so Lefia gets her
indirect something.
She calls it an indirect something rather than an indirect kiss. She can't even say kiss.
Right.
It's an indirect something. And so she drinks the potion and gets a bit better. And then after that, we cut to the end of the episode, and Loki is calling out Freya, saying that you released some horrible things in this city. Why on earth did you do that? And she describes the monster that, almost killed some of her familia. Mm-hmm. And Freya's just like, they're out of the monsters that I released, not a single one of them matches what you just told me.
Right.
And they're like, wait, what? So...
And then it's revealed that another god, who Loki was talking to at the...
I didn't write down his name, but
they were talking to two gods, and it wasn't clear which one was which, but one of them was Dionysus, and the other one was Demetrius, or something like that.
Something like that. I didn't write down the names.
But one of them, the male of them, seems to be involved in sparking up things of interest and causing some extra chaos around, and that's where the episode ends and brings intrigue, and that's the hook that gets you involved in watching more, is finding out who he is and what he's all involved in. So all in all, it's a fun little series.
It's all right. I mean, I'd rather just have season 2 of Danmachi, so I can get more of the story from Belle's point of view, and we met all of Belle's Hestia and all the people that joins Hestia's Familia and stuff like that in season 1. I'd rather just have season 2. This didn't really hold my interest that much. I mean, it was fine, but I didn't see anything really wrong with it, but nothing really stood out to make me want to keep watching it.
Okay.
So for me, it's maybe I'll watch it when I've got nothing else to watch, but I've got plenty on my queue to watch right now. So
okay.
How about you? What do you think?
Now, I'm a family man, and I like to have my queue filled with things that I don't mind my kids walking in on me seeing. This is not something I can have my kids walking in on me seeing.
That's very true.
This show was a bit heavier on the fan service than I was expecting. And so, fair warning to everybody out there.
Do you not remember the original Danmachi? This was just about as much as as Danmachi was, if I recall correctly.
Maybe I'm just getting more sensitive to it.
Maybe. It's also been several years since we watched the original one, so... Okay, yeah. So it's kind of a pass from both of us. So, alright, well, so that's it for... Sword Oratoria. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon on the side? And next week, I'm pretty excited about this show that I found. They have rebooted Star Blazers.
Okay.
Star Blazers is an older show from the 70s, 80s. Battleship Yamato 2199.
Okay.
They have rebooted it. They've got 24 episodes for season 1, and they just barely started up. They're 8 episodes into season 2.
Nice.
Now, I did read that these movies are like continuation, or these shows are the continuations of stories that they did in movies. So I don't know if we'll be missing a ton of information by jumping into the show. But here's the synopsis from Crunchyroll. The power-hungry Gamlias have taken over Earth, and only a distant planet has the key to save humans from extinction. Granted the schematics of a high-powered engine, The space battleship Yamato is built to traverse the galaxy and retrieve hope for their survival. Battling extraterrestrial forces along the way, the crew of the Yamato will stop at nothing to save their home.
Now, the name of this sounds really familiar. Is this the same art style as Galaxy Express 999?
Yes.
Okay, and Interstellar 5555?
Let me go ahead and... Here we go. They actually had a live-action movie that we watched a while back.
Live action?
Mm-hmm. I own it. But yeah, here's the cover of the live-action movie that they made.
I don't know if I ever actually sat down and watched that one with you.
Yeah, that's not a good angle.
No.
But there's like the manga.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that old art style.
Okay.
So yeah, it's got pretty good reviews online. I'm excited to go ahead and give it a watch.
Right.
See what the first 3 episodes are like.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So that's it for 3 episodes in. Let's go ahead and move on to recommendation of the week.
All right. This week it's your turn.
Yep. And this week, I don't really do this very often, but I backed a Kickstarter project.
Really?
Yep. And I don't know if you're familiar with the company Steamforged Games.
Sounds familiar.
They made the Dark Souls board game.
Oh.
And I own it. I'll show it to you at some point. The miniatures that they made are incredible. It's like they just lifted the models straight out of the game for the miniatures for the board game.
Okay.
They have partnered with Critical Role to make miniatures of Critical Role characters.
That sounds awesome. They
have the entire cast of, or the main 7 characters, and one of them is a ranger, and so she's got a bear by the name of Trinket. Mm-hmm. So they've got 8 models for the first season. They've got the 7 main characters plus a guest actor for 8 characters for the second season.
Yeah.
So that's 16 models. And then you get an additional 6 models that are Kickstarter exclusive if you back the Kickstarter. And there's only one option for backing, and it's £45 or $60. Now that seems like a lot, but miniatures are not cheap.
No.
If really you're getting what? 22 miniatures for $60.
That's huge.
That's like less than $3 a miniature. So.
Oh wait, yeah.
Yeah, that's less than $3 a miniature. It's a really good deal, so I went ahead and I backed it. I love Critical Role. I've talked about it here before.
You have.
I love Steamforged. They just make incredibly detailed miniatures. So I'm very excited to get this set. I mean, it's not going to come until January of next year, but there's 10 days only to back this project.
Okay.
They were asking for, I don't even know, they weren't asking for very much. I think it was like maybe £10,000. They had broken their goal by 500% within the first couple of hours of it being on Kickstarter.
That doesn't surprise me in the least.
No, doesn't surprise me in the least at all. So yeah, for Critical Role fans or fans of just really nice Dungeons and Dragons miniatures, check out this Kickstarter project.
Fantastic.
Oh, excuse me.
All right.
Okay, and then next is our creator shoutout, and that's your turn this week.
All right, this week I am giving a shout out to somebody I've met on Facebook by the name of Karklin. She is a professional cosplayer.
Oh, cool.
Has her own brand called Hide My Error Cosplay. And she has an extensive catalog of different characters she's cosplayed as and photography that's been done of her. And she's got she has a blog, hidemyerror.com. She has a Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook pages, and links to those will all be.
You met her via Facebook?
Yes. Turns out Doug was a fan of hers first and was kind of promoting her page and
okay, cool.
Encouraging people to get to know her. And in fact, she was my first friend on and currently my only friend on Pokemon Go.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
well, all right then.
So that's why that came up earlier today.
Okay.
But yeah. So shout out to Hyde Karklin, and maybe you guys will see her at various anime conventions. If you do, tell her we said hi.
Good deal. All right, then. Well, I think that wraps it up for another week. Unless there's anything else you want to cover real fast?
That does it for me.
Okay. Well, in that case, I've been Andrew.
I've been Lee.
And this has been Whitaker Weekly. Have a good week.